Ladies and gentlemen, this is Amit Vats, your host for RE Mass Talks, a series of candid interviews with industry stalwarts from RE and clean energy. Today, we have with us Mr. Jaideep N Malaviya, a professional in solar energy since 1996. He is also the managing director of Malaviya Solar Energy Consultancy and founder, Secretary General of Solar Thermal Federation of India. With over 25 years of experience in solar energy industry as a consultant, researcher, trainer, and project developer, Mr. Malviya has presented over 100 papers in Indian and international conferences. He was recently elected as director of International Solar Energy Society of Germany. He is also a task force member set up by the Government of India on circular economy and solar energy on policy issues. Recently, he was recognized by the International Solar Energy Society amongst the 250 global pioneers in research and industrial development of solar energy. A very warm welcome, Mr. Malviya.
My pleasure.
Mr. Malviya,
How
since
do
the
you?
Government of India has drafted a regulation for recycling of solar energy waste and is addressing sustainable goals laid by the UN, India is one of the very few countries in the world to address solar energy waste regulations. So, do you think should solar energy waste be part of electronic waste or have its own regulations?
Well, first of all, let's compliment the government of India for taking this courageous step. I think perhaps we are one of those few countries which have taken this initiative, considering the fact that we have targets of about 300 gigawatt peak to be achieved, which will, at the end of the life, generate so much amount of waste. So it makes sense, to recycle and reproduce. So I compliment first of all for drafting a regulation that solar energy, once they are at the end of their life, they have to be recycled. Now, having said that, the reason being, there is certain amount of toxicity in a solar PV panel or even a solar thermal panel, as a matter of fact. Let's not differentiate between the two. Now, the ideal definition of an electronic waste is largely we talk of consumer waste, which we use like refrigerators, laptops, microwaves, and what. That's the general feeling. Now, this is not a consumer item. It's basically an industrial item. So it is hoped that in future, as the wastes will pile up, probably there is going to be a dedicated R waste, we think, meaning the renewable waste. Why should only there be solar energy? Perhaps it could even be the wind energy and the other renewable sources, which when they attain end of the life, they will have to undergo through a circular economy process. So for the time being, this is fine, but definitely in future, it must have its own set of regulations.
So, Mr. Malviya, what support Government of India would extend for R&D in developing indigenous solutions for entire recycling value chain as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat?
You'll have to repeat that question, please. Sorry, I
Yes,
think I lost your voice in between.
no worries. So I was saying, what support Government of India would extend for research and development in developing indigenous solutions for entire recycling value chain as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat?
Oh, that's a very good question. I think the government has made its intent very clear. Anybody wishing to, whether they are a startup or an industry, wishing to start, a pilot line for a recycling, they are open to funding. There are certain schemes available under the government programs, whether they are through Ministry of New and Renewable Energy or Ministry of Environment and Forest, or as a matter of fact, even Department of Science and Technology. And not only this, let me tell you that now there is even a growing concern with most of the large scale end users. So they, out of their CSR funds, are inviting proposals if anybody would like to develop some kind of a novel technology or an indigenous technology wherein the solar waste could be recycled and reclaimed. So there is plenty of it happening, and I'm sure that's going to prop up the startups or the existing e-waste recyclers and motivate them.
So, Somalia, will the waste result in recovery of entire materials that can be reused in the solar energy industry?
Oh, yes. See, there have been experiences in Europe that they have been able to recover up to 95% of the waste. However, they are aggressively pursuing the target to achieve up to 99%. Up to 99%. Right. Now, this is possible because most of the equipment or the materials used in the making of whether solar PV module or a solar thermal collector, they are 100% recyclable. What we only foresee the challenge is in the recycling of the polymers. Because the solar PV modules do use up to 3.5% of polymers. Now that challenge will have to be addressed perhaps. So we keep a window that at least up to 96% it can be recovered.
That's still a good number. That's still a good number.
Yes.
Right. So, Somalia, now, how much carbon foot will be avoided by way of recovery of materials?
Oh, that's what is the key, which will drive the circular economy. See, when we talk of circular economy, what we state is that whatever components have gone in the making of the solar modules or the solar collector, they should be reused rather than being landfilled and we do fresh mining. So preliminary studies show that even if we recover 95% modules, we're keeping a target of 300 gigawatt, right? We will be able to achieve up to 285 gigawatt peak modules reproduced out of this. So you can very well understand, for example, the aluminum industry will be the biggest gainer because scrap aluminum, if it is reused to make a virgin aluminum, you almost save up to 80% of your energy. So huge
Right.
carbon footprint is saved. Similarly goes with the glass. Glass will save up to 50 to 55% of the energy because already the raw material is well processed. It's almost in a purified form, except for certain processes to be completed in order that it becomes a virgin solar glass. So we see anywhere between 55% to 80% of the energy savings, which indirectly will result into carbon footprint reduction.
Okay. So, Mr. Malviya, now since we are recycling things, so what is the monetary gain achieved by way of recycling solar energy waste?
Today, that's a challenge, let me put it, because nobody knows exactly what would be the cost of recycling. And post recycling, whatever is recovered, whether that is going to fetch enough profits. But yes, if we have volumes, what we have done some kind of an analysis is that this will become a profitable industry once we achieve about almost like a kind of a 100,000 tons. The moment we cross this threshold limit, it will become a profitable venture. Even the startups can start. It's going to create enough jobs. In fact, there will be a lot of room for the unskilled workers because they
True,
just need to dismantle it and send
true,
it
true.
to the scrap for recycling. You don't really need skill. Skill will only be required where there are existing e-waste recyclers, for example, they may have. So there will be a profitable opportunity in future. But as of now, it will be very difficult to tell. But yes, it is going to be profitable business.
Great, great. Thank you, thank you. Uh, so, what would government consider? Would government consider extending viability gap funding?
Well, that's what we have even proposed because see, these will all involve some capital investment. And mind you, we won't need to have import the modules if we are able to recycle and reclaim. Now, if we are able to reproduce the modules, right, then why not invest? Why the government should not consider a viability gap funding when they can consider for large scale projects like the solar energy farms or the wind farms? Similarly, it will go here because the capital involved will not be recovered in a shorter time. And unless the government infuses money or government sets up its own recycling, then it's a different issue. Alternative could be that they will have to provide some kind of a very easy financing methodology with the financial institutions or a bank. That could be an alternative way. But the viability gap funding could be a good idea.
So going further, recycling would be a good thought to know, and a way of generating jobs, and also I think getting the costs a little lower. No.
Absolutely right. And the government has made the intentions very clear. Even during the last budget, the Honorable Finance Minister announced some kind of a funding for practicing circular economy. So we don't see any reason why circular economy should not happen. It's going to be a profitable jobs. We are going to reclaim the materials to reproduce new modules. So it's a win-win situation. And very important, if we are saving on the carbon footprint, then are contributing to our INDC. India has been a signatory. We have our INDC target. This is going to be one of the portions, or one of the areas which will aid in fulfilling the INDC. So it's definitely worth doing, and it should be aggressively pursued.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Malviya. We would definitely would like to discuss a little bit more onto it. In fact, I would like to invite all our audience who would be listening to this podcast that we have a very special session by Mr. Malviya along with other panelists at REI, which is REI being the maker of renewable energy and clean energy. At the conference, at the Knowledge Forums, we'll have a very potent session by Mr. Malviya onto recycling of e-waste. It will be on circular economy. So I would request everybody to join us at the congregation from 28th to 30th of September and be part of the knowledge session along with Mr. Malviya. Thank you, Mr. Malviya, for being part of the RE Master Talks, and I look forward to meeting you again at REI.
Thank you, and a very great initiative by REI for considering this topic. I'm sure you have set the ball rolling. Good luck.
Thank you.